Assalamu alaikum. This is lecture number 26 of Global Business Management. The topic of today's lecture is Global Production, Outsourcing and Logistics. We have three learning objectives for today's lecture. The first one is to understand how country differences, manufacturing technology and product features all affect the choice of where to locate production operation. The second one is appreciate the factors that influence a firm's decision to whether to source component parts from within the company or purchase them. And the third learning objective is to understand what is required to efficiently coordinate a globally dispersed manufacturing system. Before we start today's lecture, we quickly go through the main points of the last lecture. We had discussed about the strategic pricing. Strategic pricing comprised of three parts. The first one is the predatory pricing, which is the profit gain in one market to support the aggressive pricing designed to drive the competitor out in another market. Multi-point pricing. A firm's pricing strategy in one market may have an impact on a rival's pricing strategy in another market. Experience curve pricing. Price low worldwide in an attempt to build a global sale volume as rapidly as possible, even if this means taking large losses initially. A firm's ability to set prices may be limited by anti-dumping regulations. Anti-dumping regulations mean that a firm is going to try to sell in another market below the price of production of the companies of the domestic market. And in order to control the dumping prices, they have the anti-dumping laws, anti-dumping regulations. The negative thing with the dumping prices is that some firms cannot beat the prices of the other firms. Even their production costs cannot meet that price. And because of that thing, the infant industry, the indigenous industry is really get in danger. And to protect the local industry, the firms make the anti-dumping regulations. Why is new product development important? Now we had discussed that why the production, why the R&D, why the innovation is important for the firms. Product innovation should be a strategic priority today. Competition is as much about the technological innovation as everything else. Now because of this technological innovation, this technological advancements within the market, the firms are also not only in competing in the marketing and the development or in this sort of fields, they are also competing. They are competing within the innovating field as well. The pace of technological change is faster than ever, and product life cycles are often very short. New innovations can make existing products obsolete, but at the same time open the door to a host of new opportunities. Firms need close links between R&D, marketing and manufacturing. On the one hand, when their firms innovate new products, the existing products, old products are become obsolete because of the advent of new technology. But at the same time, the new technology is also offering the more growth opportunities or new opportunities for the companies. And the last point we had, that the last line, what it says that firms should integrate their production, their marketing, R&D and production facilities. The rate of the product development is greater in countries where more money is spent on the basic and applied research, and the demand is strong, and the consumer are affluent, and the competition is intense. These are the four conditions where the rate of innovation or rate of inventing new things are really high. The first one is where the more money is spent on the basic research. The second thing is where the demand is really strong. The third one is people have the high buying power. The fourth one is competition is really intense. Now, why cross-functional team is important? Why the question is why there is need to have a team from these three disciplines, the marketing, R&D, and the production. Team integration is facilitated by a cross-functional product development team. Effective cross-functional team should be led by a heavyweight project manager with status in the organization. Include members from all the critical functional areas. Have members located together. Establish clear goals. Develop an effective conflict resolution process. Because they belong to different departments, different mindsets, and in order to control any sort of conflict, they should have a efficient conflict management system as well. Building global capabilities. To adequately commercialize new technology, firms need to integrate R&D and marketing. To successfully commercialize new technology, firms may need to develop different versions of different countries. These are the two important things. The first one is the marketing and R&D should be integrated with each other. To know what the customer is demanding, what are the expectations of the customers, how firm should know this thing through the marketing. Marketing are the people or the department who have the interaction with the customers, and those demands and those expectations are transferred from marketing to R&D department. And once the product is developed, to know the feedback about that product, the satisfaction level of the customers from that product will be again delivered from back to the R&D department. The second point is that we have learned this thing that in each firm, in each country, in each market, there are differences across the cultures, values, standards, and expectations, and therefore the taste and demands of the customer is different across the market. Because of the differences in demand across the market, firms should be able to produce different products across the markets. Firm strategy, production, and logistics. Now we will talk about the production and the logistics. Production refers to the activities involving creating a product, while logistics refer to the procurement, physical transmission of material through the supply chain from supplier to customers, from supplier to manufacturer, and then manufacturer to customers. To lower cost, firm can disperse production to those locations where activities can be performed more efficiently. Now, what are the purposes of this production and logistics? Why firms need to have efficient logistics? There are two reasons. First one is to reduce the cost of production. The second one is to improve the quality. The first one, to reduce the cost. How firm can reduce the cost by increasing the level of logistics? Firm can move the production. They can disperse production those locations where activities can be performed more efficiently. Second one is manage the global supply chain more efficiently to better match supply and demand. These are the two ways through which the cost of production can be reduced by having a better logistics. And firm can improve the quality with the better logistics through eliminate defective products from the supply chain and manufacturing process. And the second one, improve quality will also reduce costs. To improve the product quality, most firms today use the Six Sigma program, which aims to reduce the defects, boost productivity, eliminate waste, and cut costs throughout the company. A part of the total quality management is ISO 9000, and Six Sigma is a part of total quality management. And in European markets, they use the ISO 9000, and firms have to follow the ISO 9000 standards in order to enter in the European market. Okay, in the last lecture we were discussing about the three these factors: the country factor, the technological factors, and the product factors. The country factors we have already discussed. Now we start with the technological factors. We quickly go through the main points of the technological factors in the last lecture, but we are going to see these factors more thoroughly in this lecture. The type of technology of a firm using in its manufacturing can affect the location. You see, three characteristics of manufacturing technology are the most important one. The level of fixed cost to minimize minimum efficient scale, the flexibility of the technology. The first one, the level of fixed cost. If the fixed cost of the setting up a manufacturing plant, if we say like in this way that if fixed cost of producing the products, or we can say that if the cost of installing the production unit is really high, that means which is the fixed cost, if the fixed cost is really high, then firm can prefer to set the production unit in a centralized location. On the other hand, then start exporting the product from that point to the the neighboring markets. On the other hand, if the fixed cost of producing that fixed cost of setting up a manufacturing plant is low, then firms can produce separate or decentralized production, and they can install the production facilities in each market, and they produce the products according to the demands of the local market. Producing in multiple locations allows firms to respond to local markets and reduce dependency on a single location. This is a very important point. When they have a decentralized production, they will be more focused on the demands of the local customers. And second thing is they will have less dependency on a single location. The next point is minimum efficient scale. The larger the minimum efficient scale, what is the minimum efficient scale? The minimum efficient scale is defined as the lowest production point at which average costs are minimized. Long run total average costs are minimized. The level of point where total average cost is minimized. This is called the minimum efficient scale. Larger the minimum efficient scale is of a plant, the more likely centralized production in a single location or a limited number of production makes sense. If the minimum efficient scale is very, very high, mean the production point at which the total average cost is a really high number, then it's more efficient for firm, it's more better for firm to have a centralized location, centralized production, and produce their product in or have a centralized production facility, or they can have a few numbers of production places. A low minimum efficient scale allows the firm to respond to a local market demand and hedge the currency exchange rate operating in a multiple. Okay, if the minimum efficient scale is low, then firm is in position to decentralize the production facility, and they can install the production, they can set up the production facility in a different market, and then they can respond to the demands of the customers in different markets more efficiently. And the second thing is, because they are not dealing across the markets, and they will avoid the transaction in different currencies. In that way, they are hedging against the currency risk by operating in multiple locations. The next point is the flexibility of the technology. Flexible manufacturing technology and the lean production. What is first of all the lean production? Lean production is a systematic method for the elimination of the waste within the manufacturing process. Lean also takes into account the waste created through overburden or waste created through unevenness in the workload. Essentially, lean is centered on making obvious what odds what adds value by reducing everything else. Lean manufacturing is a system management philosophy derived mostly from the Toyota production system. In short, we can say that lean is a systematic method to eliminate the waste within the manufacturing process. And it covers a range of manufacturing technology, reduce setup time for the complex equipment, increase the utilization of the individual machines through better scheduling, improve quality control at all stages of the manufacturing process. These are the three different sort of flexible manufacturing technology. Firms use flexible manufacturing technology can reduce a wide variety of end products at a unit cost that at one time could only be achieved through the mass production of the standardized output. Mass customization, what does this mean? Production of personalized, customized, custom-tailored goods or services to meet the customer devices and changing need at near mass production prices. Mass customization is what is first of all the customized product. Customized product is the personalized or custom tailored goods. When these custom tailored goods or personalized goods are manufactured at the mass level, then we call it at the they are produced in such a way that the cost of production of those custom tailored goods are the same if company is producing the products at the mass level. Then we call this sort of personalized manufacturing or custom tailored goods production is mass customization. It implies that a firm may be able to customize its product range to meet the demands of the local market, yet still control costs. Flexible machine cells allows firms to increase efficiency by improving capacity utilization. It is a manufacturing system in which there is some amount of flexibility that allows system to react in cases of changes, whether predicted or unpredicted. This flexibility is generally considered to fall into two categories, with both contain numerous subcategories. Firms when there is some predictable or unpredictable changes within the production, the machine call the ability of a system to deal this sort of predictable or unpredictable changes is called flexible machine cell system. Concentrating production at a few choice location makes sense when fixed costs are substantial. Now we are taking together, we are making a sort of a summary where firms should focus and what circumstances in terms of technological factors, in what sort of in situations firms should prefer to have a centralized location, or in what situation firm have a decentralized production locations. When the fixed costs are really high, the minimum efficient scale of production is high, flexible manufacturing technologies are available. In all these three circumstances, the concentration production is more feasible. On the other hand, production in multiple locations makes sense when both fixed cost and a minimum efficient scale of the production are relatively low, and appropriate flexible manufacturing technologies are not available. In both these circumstances, the firm will prefer to have this production facility in multiple locations. Now this is the quick review question. Firms should produce in multiple locations when there are four options: fixed costs are low, fixed costs are substantial, minimum efficient scale of production is high, or flexible manufacturing technologies are available. These are the four options, and the answer of this question is available exactly in the last slide. Two product factors impact location decision. Now we are talking about, in the last lecture we did talk about the country factors. In the early slides of this lecture we had discussed about technological factors. Now we are starting with the product factors. These three factors determine the location choice. Products value to weight ratio. the first factor is the product's value to weight ratio. What is a value to weight ratio? Value to weight ratio is value to weight ratio of product is a measure of the monetary value a product has per kilogram or per pound. The value to weight ratio of product is a measure of a monetary value a product has per kilogram or pound. This is an important measure used in supply chain design and strategy. It is one of the most important factors that determine how a product will be shipped to its market. What is the example? Example of this thing is between the example of different value of weight ratio is between diamonds and coal. Both are form of carbon but have very different value to weight ratio. A kilogram of coal is only worth a few cents, but one full kilogram of diamonds can be worth tens of millions of dollars depending on the diamond grade. That's the difference. Mean value of the product and what is the weight of the value and what is the value of the product. These are the two things, and we are going to make a ratio. We are going to get the ratio value to weight. What is the value of the product mean? What is the price of that product? And what is the value mean? We can measure, we can proxy the value in terms of price. What is the price of that product and what is the weight of that product? And in this example, we are talking about what about the price of the coal and what about the price of the diamond. Both of them are price of coal divided by weight 1 kg, and price might be 1,000, a few thousand. And what about the 1 kg of diamonds divided by 1 kg mean value, price, what is the price of that thing, and divided by weight 1 kg. If the value to weight ratio is high, it is practical to produce the product in the single location, export it to the other parts of the world. If the value of a weight ratio is low, there is greater pressure to the manufacture of the product with multiple locations. There is a very key and very interesting and benchmark which one is stating from this point that if the value to weight ratio is really high, value to weight ratio mean, for instance, in terms of this diamond production facility or diamond cleaning or polishing facility, if this sort of thing the company has this nature of production, then firms should prefer to have a centralized production facility, and they should produce in one place, in one location, and export that product to another part of the world. If they are producing like coal, where value to weight ratio is really low, what they can do, there is a greater pressure for firms to manufacture. They can choose, they can produce those products in a different location across the world, and they can do that, and then they are going to produce in the local markets. Next point is in product factors. Next point is whether the product serves universal needs. If when products serve universal needs, the need for local responsiveness fall. Increasing the attractiveness of concentrating manufacturing is a central location. Okay, now the second point is if the product is serving the universal need, then need for local pressure then firm don't have the pressure for the local demand or local special features or special some taste or something. What they can do, they are going to produce in one product centralized location, and they can ship their products to the other markets. Again, the question is, all of the following are the key factors that influence the decision of where to produce, except country factors, competitor factors, technological factors, and the product factors. Locating production facility. There are two basic studies for locating manufacturing facility. Concentrating them in an optimal location and serving the world market from there, like we had discussed, and the decentralizing them in various locations that are close to the major market, then close to the major market, and then serve in the different market differently. Okay, if we summarize the production facility according to the country technological and product factors. We can see this in this diagram, in this figure, that the country factors are differences in political economy, differences in culture, differences in factor cost, trade barriers, location externalities, and exchange rates. And the technological factors are fixed cost, minimum efficient scale, flexible manufacturing technology. Product factors are value to weight ratio and the serves universal needs. And the concentrated production favored, decentralized production favored. Decentralized means producing in various markets. Differences in political economy, substantial, concentrated production in only in one market. Substantial in the first three. Difference in culture is also substantial, but the in various market is few. Differences in factor costs, the concentrated production favors is substantial, and the decentralized if we talk about the for instance the trade barriers, producing in the one market doesn't favor this thing, while producing in several markets will favor this thing. Location externalities, important in industry and not important, it depends on the industry. Exchange rate, concentrated location favors this thing, and decentralized production is not favoring this thing, is volatile, it's changing. If the technological cost, the fixed cost in concentrated production facility, the fixed cost is high, decentralized production facility is low. When the fixed cost is low, then firm have to choose the decentralized. When the fixed cost is high, then firm have to choose the decentralized. Similarly, if we go upward again, when the exchange rate is stable, firm have to choose the centralized. When the exchange rate is volatile, firm have to decentralize. Read this way. When location externalities are very important in the industry, then they have to choose the concentrated. When the location externalities are not important in the industry, then they have to choose decentralized production favored. If we read the first one, differences in the political economy, differences in political economy is substantial, is a really huge difference, then they have to focus on the concentrated production favored. If the differences in the political economy is only few, differences are only few, they are almost the same, then they have to choose the decentralized production facility. They can produce, they can make in the different markets. Same goes in for the product factors. Value to weight ratio is when high, they have to choose the concentrated product market, and when the value to weight ratio is low, they have to choose the decentralized. Serves universal need, yes, when they serve it, they have to choose the concentrated market. Then when they serve no, then they have to use the decentralized. This is the overall summary of the choice of location of production. Again, the question is, when dash firms will favor decentralized production, there are substantial difference in political economy. High costs are low, the product's value to weight ratio is high, the exchange rate is volatile. You are going to get the answer from the exactly from the previous slide, from the diagram. Again, the next the review question is, concentrated production makes sense when minimum efficient scale is high, location externalities are not important, the product does not serve universal needs, there are few trade barriers, and the answer is again available in the that diagram. Okay, what is the strategic role of foreign factories? When firms have the foreign subsidiaries or their production facility in the foreign markets, what is the role of that markets? The strategic role of the foreign factories and the strategic advantage of the particular location can change over time. This is the first thing. With the passage of time, their role will be different. Factories initially established to make advantage of the low-cost labor can evolve into factory and the facilities with advanced design capabilities. Like exactly we have In the last lecture we had discussed about the Philips, when in the beginning they established their production facilities in China just to avail the cheap labor, and then later on when they have seen that China has entered in the WTO, they joined the WTO, they have the stable economy, their currency rate was stable, they are pegged with the dollar, and the other companies are also entering in the China, and their supply chain, this logistics is very strong. At that time they switch from low cost labor advantage to advanced design capability. The Philips have also started their R&D functions in China. Improvement in a facility comes from two sources: pressure to lower cost or respond to local markets, and an increase in the availability of advanced factors of production. This improvement will come from, why they improved, why they switched from only low cost labor advantages to R&D facilities or design capabilities, because pressure to lower cost or respond to lower market. This is the one reason. And second thing is increase in availability of advanced factor. Already the other firms are entering and the logistics are very strong, and they have other less exchange rate risk and these sort of things. The advanced factors of production is really available. That's why a firm can choose from the low cost labor advantage to other design capabilities. Many companies now see foreign factories as global dispersed centers of excellence. True. This philosophy supports the development of a transnational strategy. Transnational strategy means across the nation, transnation, they are producing in one place, doing R&D in another place, marketing in another thing, in another market, might be packaging in another market, and they are trying to develop a transnational strategy. A major aspect of transnational strategy is a belief in a global learning, or the idea that valuable knowledge does not reside just in the firm's domestic operation. It may also found in its foreign subsidiaries. Global learning. Global learning means the philosophy, the transnational strategy is based on global learning. Global learning means they can learn from the other markets. They are not, even if that firm belongs to the developed country, it's not necessary that firm is only going to learn some new thing only from the home market. Rather, they can learn new things from the other markets, from their foreign subsidiaries as well, and might be these subsidiaries can reside in the developing countries as well. This implies that firms are less likely to switch production to new locations simply because some underlying variable like wage rates has changed. That means that just if the change rate with the passage of time, if the wage rate is changed, they are going to move their production somewhere else. It will not be happen in this way. Should an international business make or buy the component part to go into the final product? Okay, outsourcing decision, outsourcing production, make or buy decision. This is the important thing. Make or buy decision are important factors in many firms' manufacturing strategies. Today's services firms also face make or buy decision as they choose which activities to outsource and which to keep in-house. Make or buy decision involving international markets are more complex than those involving domestic markets. Make or buy decision are either they have to make by themselves or they have to buy those facilities from the other manufacturers, and they can outsource their facilities for the other firms. Okay. This is really interesting case study of Hewlett Packard, who started their operation in Singapore. In the late 60s, Hewlett Packard was looking around Asia for the low-cost location to produce electronic components that were to be manufactured using the labor-intensive processes. Now, this case study will help us to understand the decision make or buy. and how this Hewlett-Packard made the decision in Singapore's operation. This is what the main theme of this story. The company looked at several Asian markets and eventually settled on Singapore, opening its first factory there in 1970. And although the Singapore did not have the lowest labor cost in the region, costs were low relative to the North market. Plus, the Singapore location had several important benefits that could not be found at many other locations in Asia. The education level of the local workforce was high, English was widely spoken, the government of Singapore seemed stable and committed to economic development, and the city-state had one of the better infrastructures in the region, including good communication and transportation networks and a rapidly developing industrial and commercial base. HP also extracted favorable terms from the Singapore government with regard to taxes, tariffs and subsidies. We are talking about back in 1970s when China was, at that time China was not so high, and at that time Singapore was a more prominent country with the features of with the really good features, and which can attract the foreign direct investment from the Western countries. As it starts, the plant manufactured only basic components. The combination of low labor cost, because labor cost even in that time, labor cost in Singapore was relatively low compared to the North America, compared to the USA. And favorable tax regime helped to make this plant profitable early. In 1973, HP transferred the manufacture of one of its basic handheld calculators, calculator from United States to Singapore. The objective was to reduce manufacturing cost, which the Singapore factory was quickly able to do. Increasingly confident in the capability of the Singapore factory to handle entire products as opposed to just components, HP management transferred other products to Singapore over the next few years, including the keyboards, solid-state displays and integrated circuits. However, all these products were still designed, developed and initially produced in the United States. I mean, we have seen this initially they had just they started to build the calculators in the Singapore. Then later on, when they see this thing, they were going in profit and the product quality is good. Then they're starting to produce the other parts in Singapore as well. But even then, at that time, they were just producing certain parts of that company, not the entire product. Even in that time, they were producing just a part, but these parts were first designed, developed in USA or initially produced in USA. Once they produce and they produce the stuff in the USA, then they later on they transfer that production and this facility to the Singapore. These designs. The plant's status shifted in the early 1980s when the HP embarked on the worldwide campaign to boost product quality and reduce costs. HP transferred the production of its HP 41C handheld calculator to Singapore. The managers at the Singapore plant were given the goal of substantially reducing manufacturing costs. They argued that this could be achieved only if they were allowed to redesign the product so it could be manufactured at the lower overall cost. HP's central management agreed, and 20 engineers from the Singapore facility were transferred to the United States for 1 year to learn how to design application-specific integrated circuits. They then brought this expertise back to the Singapore and set about redesigning the HP 41C. I mean, in 1980s, the strategy of the HP shifted from shifted towards the improving the quality and to reduce the cost. Then they asked the Singapore management to reduce the cost and produce the stuff there. The HP41C handheld calculator are wholly produced in the China, but the China into the Singapore, and the Singapore's management, they said that they could only do so when they are going to produce according to their own customer demands and customer these. In order to do so, the US in the headquarter, they provided the headquarter provided the training of 20 Singapore engineers, and they learned the expertise in design in US, and then they went back to Singapore and transferred this technology to the Singapore. The results were in a huge success. By redesigning the product, the Singapore engineers reduced manufacturing cost for the HP41C by 50%. Using this newly acquired capability for product design, the Singapore facility then set about redesigning other products it produced. HP's corporate managers were so impressed with the progress made at the factory that they transferred production of the entire calculation line to the Singapore in 1983. This was followed by the partial transfer of inkjet production to Singapore in 1984 and the keyboard production in 1986. In all cases, the facility redesigning the products and often reduced unit manufacturing costs by more than 30%. The initial development and design of all these products, however, still occurred in the United States. Later on, after the success of the handheld calculators, they also starting to manufacture the keyboards and inkjet production from the Singapore. In both these things, wholly they were producing in Singapore. But even then, at that time, initially these products were designed in the USA and initially produced in USA. Then they produce in Singapore. In the late 80s and 90s, the Singapore plant assumed added responsibilities, particularly in the inkjet printer business. The factory was given the job of redesigning an HP inkjet printer for the Japanese market. Although the initial product redesign was a market failure, the managers at Singapore pushed to the allowed to try again. They were given the job of redesigning HP's DeskJet 505 printer for the Japanese market. This time the redesigning product was a success, garnering significant sales in Japan. Emboldened by this success, the plant has continued to take on additional design responsibility. Today, it is viewed as a lead plant within the HP's global network, with primary responsibility not just for the manufacturing but also for the development and design of a family of small inkjet printers targeted at the Asian market. Important thing is what we are trying to see from this case study is that gradually HP has gradually increased from responsibilities what they are given to the Singapore plant. From initially they were doing just small parts, then they are starting to produce the whole products there, and later on they were given even the R&D facilities in the Singapore. Okay, the suggested question that you need to think about is, the first question is, what factors are important in HP initial decision to open a plant in Singapore? How did these factors contribute to the decision to increase responsibilities at the Singapore plant? In what directions you are going to discuss is like this. HP initially selected Singapore as a production location because the country offered a lower cost and well-educated workforce who speak English. Additionally, the country was economically stable, had a good infrastructure. Lower cost, well-educated workforce enabled HP to reduce its manufacturing and development cost. When the company decided to assign the responsibility for designing its handheld calculator to its Singapore facility, the success of this assignment was such that the company has continued to ask the facility to redesign other products. The next question is, today the Singapore plant is considered to be the lead plant for HP. How can the company help the plant continue to be a key component in HP's good network? These are the two discussion questions, and you are going to think about these questions, and the main point, the discussion points are already given in the case study. Like we are discussing the make or buy decision. What are the advantages of the make when their company are going to take the responsibility by itself, or they are going to make by itself rather than outsourcing. First one is the lower cost. If a firm is more efficient at the production activity than any other enterprise, it may pay the firm to continue manufacturing a product or component part in-house. When the company has a production facility, efficient production facility, and through that production facility they can reduce the cost, then they should keep the production by themselves in-house. Facilitate investment in highly specialized assets. Internal production makes sense when substantial investments in specialized assets where value is contingent upon a particular relationship persisting are required to manufacture a component. Internal production makes sense. They can keep the production by themselves in-house when substantial investment in specialized assets have been done. Last point, like if they have already invested the money if they have already buy the equipment to produce some stuff, then they have to continue the production in-house. The third point is protect proprietary technology. A firm might prefer to make component parts that contain proprietary technology in-house in order to maintain control over the technology. If there is some sort of technology is involved in producing those products, then of course a firm will not outsource those production of those products. What they have to do, they have to keep the production in-house, because to only to retain the technology with themselves. Facilitate the scheduling of adjacent process. The weakest argument for vertical integration is the resulting production cost saving make planning, coordination and scheduling of adjacent processes are easier. Once they have the production in-house, they can coordinate that production with the other part of the production, like they can inline with that production with the planning, coordination, and scheduling of the other processes within the company. And on the other hand, what are the advantages of buying component parts from independent suppliers? The first one, it will give the firm greater flexibility. This is the first thing. Firms, when they don't need to produce by themselves, it is a flexibility for the independent for the firm. But buying component part from independent suppliers, the firm can maintain its flexibility, switching orders from between suppliers as circumstances dictate. They don't keep the responsibility. They just put the responsibility on the other people, on the other company through outsourcing. And if whatever the demands they have, the high demand or low demand, whatever, according to circumstances, they can change their demand and they can ask for that supplier. This is particularly important when the changes in the exchange rate and the trade barriers alter the attractiveness of the various supply sources over time. Imagine that a company is producing some stuff, rather than producing by themselves, they outsource to the Chinese market. We are talking about the American company. The Chinese market, Indian market, and the Pakistani market. They're going to see wherever the exchange rate is low or exchange rate is good for them, they will give the order to that company. If the order exchange rate is more good for the American company in Pakistan, they ask the Pakistani company to produce that product. If the exchange rate is good in China, they will ask them, and it's really a flexibility for the firm to, and it is attractiveness of various supply sources over time. The second point is it helps drive down the firm's cost structure. Rather than building their own production facility, they are just they're not using they are not investing in the fixed cost. What they are doing, firm buy components from the independent suppliers. What it avoids the challenges involved with coordinating and controlling the additional subunits that are associated with vertical integration. The lack of incentive associated with internal suppliers, and the difficulties with setting appropriate transfer prices. The important thing is, while giving the outsourcing the production, it reduces the cost. It drives down the cost of the firm's overall cost. The third point is it helps the firms capture orders from the international customers. Outsourcing can help firms capture more orders from the supplier countries. This is the important thing. Like if when an American firm is going to outsource its production, or not the production, some production of that products to China or to India or some other country, in fact they have entered in that market. They have some linkages in with that market as well. Because of that outsourcing in that market, like Indian market, American the local market of Indian market, they will know the name of that US company as well. And because of the spreading the names, the US companies can get the orders from the Indian market as well. That's why it says that it helps firms to capture more orders from the supplier countries. Now firms have to do the trade-off. The benefits of manufacturing components in-house are greatest when. Now this is the condition when firms have to build by themselves in-house. Highly specialized assets are when the special assets are really highly specialized, when the vertical integration is necessary for protecting the proprietary technology, and the firm is more efficient than external suppliers at performing the particular activity. These are the three conditions when firm have to choose producing the product in-house. Okay, the next thing is firm can make a strategic alliance with suppliers. Sometimes firms can capture the benefits of vertical integration without the associated organizational problem by forming long-term strategic alliances with key suppliers. And however, these commitments may actually limit strategic flexibility. And now we are talking about the firm make some alliance with the suppliers, and with the help of these strategic alliances, they will what they are doing, that they are benefit of vertical integration without associated organizational problems by forming long-term strategic alliances with the key supplier. They are making alliances with the supplier and get benefits with the efficiencies of those suppliers. Okay, the review questions of related to the previous slides, what we have done recently. Which of the following is not the advantage of buying from independent supplier? It gives the firm greater flexibility. It helps drive down the firm's cost structure. It protects proprietary property. And the fourth one is helps the firm to capture orders from the international customer. Which one is not an advantage? Which one is not the advantage? And the answer of this question is in the last slides. Okay. Managing a global supply chain. When a firm is operating in several markets, maybe they have the production in several other markets, how they are going to manage the logistics. Logistics encompasses the activities necessary to get materials to a manufacturing facility through the manufacturing process and out through a distribution system to the end user. The objectives of logistics are to manage a global supply chain at a lowest possible cost and in a way that best serves customer needs, to help the firm establish a competitive advantage through superior customer service. These are the two main objectives of the efficient logistic, to manage a global supply chain at the lowest possible cost and to offer the best services to its customers. Role of just-in-time inventory. The basic philosophy behind the just-in-time inventory is to economize on inventory holding cost by having materials arrive at a manufacturing plant just in time to enter the production process, not before. Just-in-time system generate major cost saving from reducing warehouse and inventory. When they enter the product, when the materials, manufacturing materials are entering in the production plant, they are going to make the entry at that time, not before. This is the main thing in just-in-time inventory. How it's good and why it's the first one is saving the cost, major cost saving from reducing warehouse inventory holding cost. Warehouse, they don't need to put the stuff in the warehouse. When they need, exactly at that time, the material will come in the production facility. The second thing is they don't need to save that that material. The second thing is just-in-time system can help the firm spot defective parts and take them out of the manufacturing to the booster product. Just-in-time inventory quickly identify the defective parts of that materials, and they will quickly take that defective part out of the system. However, just-in-time system leaves the firm with no buffer stock of inventory to keep. The negative thing is they don't have any stuff in backup, and whatever they need, they immediately order it and they immediately get it, but they don't keep the extra stuff with them, and that can be a problem. And now the role of internet and in technology in this sort of thing. The web-based information system play a crucial role in the material management. They allow firms to optimize production scheduling according to when the components are expected to arrive. And electronic data interchange, this is the EDI, and it facilitates the trafficking of inputs, allows the firm to optimize the production schedule, lets the firm and supplier communicate in real time. These are the three main important benefits of the electronic data integration. Mostly it happens that at the supply, this EDI, they have the company, the firm, manufacturer, and the supplier, both of them, they have these things and synchronized, and whenever they need some products, they immediately enter in their own system, and the supplier automatically can see how many numbers are needed by this manufacturer, by this company, and they immediately deliver those products to that company. And tracking the inputs and required and supplied and remaining, what are the stocks they have in the company, they can track very easily with that thing. And firms to optimize production schedule, firms can optimize, their production for schedule, they can optimize it, the production schedule, because now they know that how many materials they require and how many materials are remaining with them, and immediately, quickly they can order they can order those materials to the supplier. They can, and on the supplier side as well, they know both of them are on the same page, on the required supply and demand of the products. Okay, now let's quickly go through the main points of today's lecture. We had discussed the three factors that were very important when the firm decide about the manufacturing location. The first one was the country factor, the second one was the technological factor, and the third one was the product factors. And the three characteristics of the manufacturing technology, we started discussing about the technological factors, the level of fixed cost, and the minimum efficient scale. And the third point was the flexibility of the technology. These are the three main points were related to the technological factors. Then we had discussed about the firm using a flexible manufacturing technology can produce a wide variety of end product at the unit cost that at one time could only be achieved through the mass production of a standardized output. And then we had discussed the mass customization concept and technological factors. Technological factors concentrating production at the few choice location makes sense when fixed costs are substantial, minimum efficient scale of production is high, and the flexible manufacturing technologies are available. Two product factors impact location decisions: the product value to weight ratio, and does product serve universal need. When products serve universal need, the need of local response falls and central location is preferred. Then we had discussed about that there are two basic strategies for locating manufacturing facilities. One is concentrating them in the one market, and the decentralizing in producing in the several markets. Improving in the facility come from two sources: the pressure from the low cost or respond to the local market, and and the second one is increase in the availability of advanced factors. Then we had learned about the global learning concept of global learning, which is the main theme of the transnational strategy. Global learning says that firms can not only learn from the home market, they can also learn from the foreign subsidiaries. And then we had discussed about the make or buy decision. What are the advantages and what are the disadvantages of the making in home or buying from the suppliers. These are the things that we had discussed today. Thank you for today. Allah Hafiz.